January 2019. We've got a little thing going on with our agenda, so we're probably not going to be using it very much today. But let's go ahead and start today's show and tell with Mark's Keyboard Shortcuts UI now in Nightly.
Hey. So I've been working on a keyboard shortcut UI for allowing users to redefine shortcuts for extension commands. So if you go to About Add-ons now, at the moment there's a keyboard shortcuts button, but the plan is to move that into the gear menu. It'll probably be in the gear menu if you go to look for it in a few days. If you go here, then you get another page that has all your extensions that are enabled. I've got a bug file to move all these ones with it, you know why it's at the bottom. And if you want to change a shortcut, you can just click on it and put something in, and it'll keep you from overriding like Command W or Command T and stuff like that. That are it's mostly what it does. There's a few follow-up bugs that I have filed that are probably good first bugs or good second bugs as well, if people are interested. I can throw a link in there. Yeah, that's about it. Or I guess I can't throw a link in there. I'll put a link somewhere.
You can send it in the chat from video.
Sorry, what was that?
I was saying that you can share the link in the
Oh.
chat video in the meantime so that the participant can receive it.
Yes. Sorry. Well, that was pretty cool, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Finally, I can redefine my keyboard shortcut. Every time I'm keyboard shortcut defaulted for Mac, I get crazy because I don't have that keys and I cannot use the shortcut. It's super annoying.
Yeah, this is one of the few Bugzilla bugs that I follow, so I just want to say thanks for working on it. I also wanted to ask, there's some differences between platforms on kind of like Firefox built-in shortcuts. Like, for example, Command-Shift-I is DevTools on Mac, but it's Command-Shift-K, I think, on Windows. So is it when you're trying to like override things, does it sort of take that into account? Does it not let you do either, or is it based on your platform?
So we don't have a list of like shortcuts that are definitely used by Firefox, but the way that they're handled is basically there's an element on the page called a key, and we can see if it's in the Firefox key set. So basically when you try and set something, we actually look in the DOM for Firefox and try and find the key. So it would be put into the DOM differently for Windows or Mac or Linux, and that's how it figures it out. And then there's a bug that there's like control page up and page down is switch tabs on every platform, I think, but that's not in a key. So that's a bug that we have right now, is it's like there's like a handful of shortcuts that are not in that key set. So it should work for most of them, but the control page up, page down, and control F4, I think, is closed tab. Those ones don't work yet.
Very cool. Any other questions about keyboard shortcuts?
I have a question. First of all, this was a much awaited feature. As an extension developer, I love it because I really need to implement this specifically and access storage permissions for just this reason. And with this, it's really solving the purpose. And second thing, I want to ask, like, for example, if an extension has just browser action or let's say page action, So if a developer doesn't define any action, any command in his manifest, so are we thinking about possibility of assigning it via this feature?
Yeah, so this was just sort of the first draft, I guess, to get something out there because it's been missing for so long.
Right.
I mean, we should be able to check if the extension has a browser action. So if you click on that button, it's going to do something and then allow you to find a shortcut.
Right.
That's not how it currently works. It only looks at the commands that are already defined. And that's mostly because we haven't figured out, or I haven't figured out, if we can. It's not in the manifest. I feel like it probably will work, but honestly, at this point, I haven't even tried it. It's just been sort of like, let's be safe and not go down that rabbit hole and do something wrong.
Sure, makes sense.
So it's definitely worth doing, I'd say.
Cool.
I don't have a bug for it, but we should probably have one.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay, next we're going to turn it over to Trishul and Shivam to show their permission inspector add-on. We'll wait for me a little bit. We're going to try to cap the next shows and tell us to about 5 or 6 minutes. Just heads up.
So yeah, this is like in India we are celebrating this called as Privacy Month. So in this whole month we talked lots about to people about privacy, security, online data, and all that stuff. So in this shadow, we created something called as permission inspector. So Firefox has a very major missing component. Once I install my add-on, I have no idea what permissions it takes, what all it can do. I have to go to AMO to check what I install and what it can do. I have no single place where I can do that. So we created something called as permission inspector. If I can share my screen. Caitlin, can you just unshare your screen so that I can share your screen?
Yeah, actually, Mark, you want to go ahead and stop your share? There we go.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, you should be good.
Thank you. Now how to share though?
There's like a little play button.
Oh, got it. Is my screen shared by any chance? Can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So this is basically permission inspector. So if we see it in action, this is a browser action. It opens a new page. It has simple UI. It has an add-on and what it does. So here we try to get all the permissions which it requires. Like for example, in AMO we skip permissions like storage permissions, active tab permissions. We don't ask user prompt. But here we try to give user everything, whatever the extension requires, to what level it can do. Like for example, this extension can intercept every HTTP request, can store data, can modify web page, like more in simple terms. This is still in kind of nascent stage. This we have tried to port it into like more than 5 languages. Obviously Google Translate because we're not multilingual like for now. It has 2 views. One is this, other one is like permission, like this permission is used by these all add-ons. So like one of the permission I really feel is required is active tab, which we never show to user, never ask to user. But with active tab, I can actually inject JavaScript. So I'm not sure what's the rationale behind it, not telling user that this extension can take your active tab permission. But I feel it important, so I put it here. So that's permission inspector for you. So just to give you a background, I'm using management API for this. I really wanted to have something like Chrome has set enabled or uninstall, install an extension through this page. In Firefox, we don't do that. So this is only limited to informational view. Like you can just know what add-ons what permissions an add-on is using. But if like we will extend, Firefox decides to extend the permission for enabling, disabling, or uninstalling an add-on. So probably we can do that in this also.
That is super interesting. I'm gonna go bookmark this because we might, one of the things that we're looking for in 2019 is to give users more tools to kind of like understand the risks of extensions and help them manage that. And let me circle back to you about that, Trishul. I'm wondering if there's something we
Sure.
can do with this. Yeah, cool. Any other
All
questions?
right. Yeah.
Pretty cool, Trishul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very cool. Okay, so next up we have Kumar, filtering reviews by star number on AMO.
All right, there's my screen. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about some features related to reviews that have been landing. Some landed yesterday in production, and some others have been just kind of trickling in over the last couple of weeks and before the holidays. So if you go to the homepage of AMO, you might find Adblock Plus in either like as a featured extension or popular extension or something like that. It has 11 million users, and one thing you can do now is you can start to look at the reviews. So if I click on the reviews, you can start to get a better sense of the add-on by navigating the reviews. So first of all, there's like 8,000 reviews, right? So you're not going to kind of like go through and read all these. But what you can do now is you can filter by star number. So you can read all 4-star reviews by clicking on the number 4. And that obviously also worked on the detailed page before it, where we had the same summary graphic. And you can also click on the count of reviews, which might be something someone would think to do. So if I wanted to look at 3-star reviews, I could click on this number right here, 214. And finally, to make it super obvious, there is a drop-down menu right here. And I think on video, it won't show it when I open it up. But basically, when I open it up, it gives me all the options you'd expect, like show all reviews, show only 5-star reviews, and I'm going to click on show only 1-star reviews. And this, to me, I think is kind of like an interesting, I don't know for sure if this will be useful to people, but to see what people are leaving as 1-star reviews. Obviously, if anyone's tried to buy something on Amazon, 1-star reviews are not always useful, but in any way, but they could be. So if we're looking at 1-star reviews here in Adblock Plus, we have one that says like does not work. That's not really helping me out in any way. And then if I keep scrolling, there's a lot that aren't in English. That's not helping me out. This review here that says that Adblock Plus slows down your network and browser speed after using it. And this is actually like a real problem with Adblock Plus. It is slow. So I think that's kind of interesting in that it might start to kind of expose some things like that. It would give people another vector to kind of like analyze tools. Some other things you might learn by reading this list of 1 review stars is that this one here claims that advertisers can bribe the creators of this add-on to ignore their advertisements. That statement might not totally be true, but there is actually some money involved in part of the process Adblock Plus goes through in order to whitelist advertisers. So there is actually some shady stuff going on. And if you were just to look at this and just glance at it, it says it's rated 4.6 out of 5. So that's a pretty high rating. So you might not think to be cautious or wary of this. So this feature of just looking at 1-star reviews is another way that we can now do that. And yeah, like I said, it's on the it's also here on the detailed page, and that's it.
Kumar, I noticed when you showed some of them that, like the 4 stars, it was showing some ratings without any kind of text attached to them. Is that a deliberate?
Yes, I did mean to mention that. So there's a recent change here. So if I go back to the 1-star reviews, there's a recent change here where if you click on 1-star reviews, you will now see ratings that do not have any text at all. And so this was something we thought about and decided to do, I guess, partially because we couldn't think of a better way to solve it. But the thing that we were trying to solve is that it was really confusing to look at the count of ratings and then make an association with the reviews. So it's like, it's kind of internally, as developers, we kind of know what the difference is between a rating and a review, but on the site itself, it's confusing. And if you look at the numbers, they don't always match up. So you could see, like, that something has a 1-star average, for example, and then you would click on the reviews, and in the previous version of the UI, that you would see nothing. And I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen, but anyway, but so it's a little weird to see empty reviews, but I think it ultimately will help in a lot of situations to help people understand that there are actually ratings here. People just didn't leave any text.
Okay.
Kind of wondering the same. Especially since we introduced ratings without review text, we've seen a lot more ratings, which is good, but then that also makes it harder to find the actual reviews between all those ratings. Have we thought about maybe just adding a top, like a note on top saying, I don't know, 12 users have rated this add-on with 1 star or something as a summary, and then not showing the individual ratings? That way, count would still be correct, but you would collapse all those ratings without any other meaningful information into one summary.
Yeah, that, first of all, that's good to hear. I actually didn't follow up on the data, but our hope with this feature has been to increase the number of ratings that are submitted, because that's definitely the goal. We want to make it like super easy to submit a rating. You don't have to be blocked on like writing text and thinking about that. And yeah, I think for the view here where we're only looking at 1-star reviews, then rolling up like a summary of like so and so people rated it 1 star might make sense. If we're looking at showing all reviews, that might be a little bit trickier because the ratings could be in different star numbers. But I guess we could kind of average them or something. I mean, it's definitely something that had crossed my mind. It seemed a little complicated. Easy way to kind of get it out the door.
I think there's actually benefit in not collapsing it, because then you can see when each rating was left, and if it's like an old rating, because I think that's another piece of useful information. If somebody is putting in enough effort to actually go through and read things, they might also be paying attention to when that review was left.
That's true. And I was just remembering that there might be some things that an admin can do to flag reviews. No, there's not. Okay. Yeah, I guess I was thinking maybe there's also some controls that we have. But yeah, there's things you could look at the timestamp, I guess. Yeah, that's one useful thing. You could kind of look at the username if someone has a, well, I don't know if that would be helpful or not, but
Cool. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Kumar. I think that's pretty cool. Next up, we're going to turn over to Matt to talk about secret themes.
Yeah. Let me try to share my screen. Go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been working on this feature in Orlando, and to be honest, I haven't really touched it since, and I hope it still works. I haven't committed the front-end part yet, so you cannot actually see it, although there is the API to implement the same thing. So if you go on AMO with my secret patch and you click on theme, you now get this. And say I was looking for, I don't know, a red theme, and I can see all themes that match more or less the color red in the list. And yeah, same for other colors. So I can search for something bluish or more pink. And that's it. It's compatible with all the other search flags except. But for instance, if you search for, I don't know, probably forest, that does combine with the search by color. So anyway, that's it. Just a simple feature. I haven't, like, there is no issues about this. There is no, I haven't asked or UI, just something I built in Orlando because I was a little depressed at the end, and then on my way home on the in the plane. So maybe eventually someday it will end up on AMO. Who knows? Maybe I will file a bug and clean that patch up and submit it. Right now it only lives on my hard drive because I can't be bothered to hide that behind a flag and write the test for it. That's it.
Let's ship it.
Super cool. My +1 too.
Yeah, next week. Let's do it.
Next week, okay, sure.
Yeah, themes aren't going away. People love themes. Might as well, you know. We just need to add. Can we add moods next, like pensive?
I can try.
It's like a mood. If we could make Firefox like a mood ring, I think that's
happy, sad, anxious.
Yeah, this is why I'm not a product manager. Okay.
Search by emoji.
Yeah, search by emoji. Excellent. Okay, we're going to turn the floor over to Luca now to talk a little bit about a small helper.
Oh yeah, so it's also about permission, but is about optional permission and not the manifest permission that Trivial extension was showing to. And also the target is mostly about developers that develop their extension and want to test how their optional permission are granted and revoked. And that you can do that from your own extension by create a testing page inside your extension and use the optional permission API to list your permission and revoke them to like ask them again. But it's kind of annoying because you have to change your extension to be able to see or what has been granted and revoke them to test it again. So I wrote a small extension, is like super small. Let me share some link here and here. It's not that complex and not that tested because I just wrote it as an example. And there is a
Did we lose him?
Oh no.
Luca?
Connection problem.
Okay.
So I was saying I created a small screencast that shows the extension, how it works. It just adds a sidebar that is refreshed automatically when you install an extension or you ask a small button there that you can use just to clean up all the permission granted and start from scratch. So it's nothing big, just something nice to make it quicker for the developers. And that's all.
Heck yeah, I think that's like a super helpful thing that people would be interested in. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean
You're welcome.
that will for sure help people to understand optional permission, which is still a mystery for people.
Yeah, and for developer too.
Yeah,
So I was trying to make it easier so that maybe more developers can opt for the optional permission when they can, because it's also less scary for the user, because
exactly. Yeah,
that permission is not being asked when you install, it's only asked when you need it. So it would be nice if it would be used much more than it is.
yeah, and it will make more sense.
Exactly. And the idea actually is that we may suggest the DevTools team to add this to the about debugging page or something connected to that. But right now I was anxious to get something working, so I just put it together as an experimental, as an extension with an experiment API inside it. So it can only be used on nightly or dev edition.
Dev edition, yeah.
Yep.
And thanks for the video. That's really helpful.
Yeah, it's just my Linux box doesn't like to share its screen, so the video is safer.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. This has been a really awesome show and tell today, y'all. Thanks everybody for sharing and for commenting. We'll be back again in February on the new agenda document, so expect some updated links to be going around later on. Thanks for spending some time with us. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just one. Sorry, I just forgot to mention. So this February first week, I'll be going to FOSDEM talking about browser extensions. So anyone joining at FOSDEM from the team?
Yep. See you there.
Oh, awesome. See you there. Let's talk more about permissions there.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think Zombie's gonna be there. So
Yep.
Y'all should hang out.
Awesome. Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
See you in a week then.
See you.
Yeah. See ya. Have fun at FOSDEM, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.